Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Youthful Voice. My name is Shavonda Bailey, and I'm the president of Active Concern Team. For those of you who have never heard of ACT, we are an active organization that reaches out to youth in our community who are seeking to make a change to better themselves and their community. This is another segment of Youthful Voice, and today our discussion will be about peer pressure. Peer pressure can be a huge problem within our schools and our community among our youth. Some of the pressures are sexual conduct, drugs, alcohol abuse, and hanging out with the wrong group that's making bad decisions to pass time. We have several students with us today to voice their opinions of different pressures that they have faced and others that they know may have or may be facing today. We'd like to start by just introducing our panel that's with us. Lanaya.
Hi, I'm Lanaya Allen. I go to Manti High School.
My name is Miguel Ochoa. I go to Palmetto High.
My name is Javante Belvin. I attend Bayshore High School.
I'm Karen Mata, and I attend Palmetto High School.
Thank you all for being here. Just want to start by asking, what are some of the pressures that you all face within your schools? Karen, can you answer that for me?
There's pressures like, you have to have a boyfriend, you have to, just things like that.
Trey, can you add?
There's a lot of pressures, beginning with drugs and all the way to people dropping out of school and everything. So.
Okay. Lanaya, can you answer this for me? As far as drugs are concerned in your school, what are some of the drugs of choice that a lot of the students may be into?
I would say mostly marijuana and weed because a lot of my friends do smoke weed.
Okay. Miguel, what about at Palmetto High?
It'd mainly be marijuana. And something they really do is they drink a lot. I know a lot of people.
So as far as, I would say, after school parties or after school events, is there a lot of people that are bringing alcohol to those events?
Yes, they bring alcohol, drugs, pretty much everything.
And how do you feel about that, being in the midst of it?
Honestly, as long as I'm not involved, it's okay, because I've never been the type to fall into peer pressure.
Okay. Well, when we hear the word peer pressure, I would say, what would be the first thought that would come to mind? Trey?
The first thought that comes to mind when I hear peer pressure is you're doing something that you don't want to do. Someone trying to push you to do something. You know it's wrong, and they keep pushing you anyways.
Karen?
I think of people telling you to do this because it's the right thing to do.
Very good. Lanaya?
Something you don't want to do, but you have friends or people telling you that it's okay, you should do it. Everyone's doing it, it's in style, things like that.
Miguel?
Drugs. Just people saying you're cool if you do drugs, you're cool if you drink.
The reason why I asked that question is because most kids, when they hear the word, and adults too, peer pressure, they seem to think more of the negative. Now, Karen, you brought up an interesting choice to go with, and it was something that was positive. Why?
Just like, because people do tell you, oh yeah, it's the right thing to do if you do this, even though really it's not the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And that's just like what people say. It's like it's the right thing to do if you do this and things like that.
But peer pressure can be looked at as something positive. Peer pressure could be something that you allow yourself to do for someone else, as far as persuading them to do the right thing and make the right choices.
Yeah, I could also like persuade people like, yeah, you do kind of have to do like your homework, or you have to do schoolwork, or like one time I was talking to a girl, I was like, no, you shouldn't quit school. I mean, you have the opportunity to stay in school. Like I tried talking to her.
Right. Now, we brought up the issue before when I made mention of sexual conduct. There are a lot of youth out there today that are persuaded to get pregnant, get involved with being sexually active, and they're not ready yet. There are a lot of young girls that are pregnant, but I would say that the fathers are out of the picture. Lanaya, are there a lot of your friends that are pregnant and dealing with the peer pressure of getting pregnant?
There are. I have a lot of friends that are pregnant, and some have had an abortion because they don't want to have nothing to do with the baby daddies or whatever. And it's like getting pregnant now for young girls is a style now because everybody's getting pregnant.
Have you been pressured into wanting to be pregnant because, people think that it's cute or that it's stylish, like you made mention of?
Yeah, I have been pressured, but I'm not the type. I know I'm not ready, so I'm not going to fall into the peer pressure.
And if you could, what would you tell another young lady that may be facing the peer pressure of dealing with wanting to get pregnant or thinking that if they were to get pregnant, they would have someone that would love them or the baby's father would be there and want to marry them?
Honestly, at a young age, I do not believe in him being there forever because you're young. You don't know what love is yet. So how are you going to stay with a baby daddy when you're only 15, 14, 13?
That's very good. Karen, could you answer that?
I've actually never been peer pressured. Like, people never tell me, like, get pregnant, it's cool. Like, no, definitely not, because it's not cool to, have a baby and have to take responsibility, not only, like, with the baby, like, with schoolwork. And we're in high school. I think, like, I've always been told, have fun at high school. Don't always have to worry about, am I pregnant? Do I have an STD? Like, things like that.
Right. Now, I know that we asked the young ladies that question, but you two, as young men, Trey, could you tell us how you feel about that?
Exactly what they've been saying. Like, you're young and everything. You have a lot to experience. And truthfully, a baby, that kind of will get in the way of the things that you'll want to do because, you have to take care of the baby. You have to take care of it financially and everything. So, and a lot of us aren't ready. And
do you have a lot of friends right now that are, I would say, engaged in having a child?
Engaged in having, like, I have a lot of friends that are pregnant, yes. And I heard a girl told me, I want a baby. Like, whether she was playing or not, that is not the way to go because, first of all, how are you going to take care of this baby? You're just a child. You have no job, no money coming in. So it's not the right thing to do at this time.
Very good point. Miguel?
Sexually, the biggest problem with us males is that most people who hang out together think the more women you sleep with, the bigger of a man you are.
Wow.
But I personally do not believe in that because I've seen many of my friends who believe in that become dads, and become fathers or pregnant women. And it's just, I see it wrong because where will a baby get you in life at a young age? How could it help you get to college? Like, would it help you financially in college?
Right.
Yes, because that's just all I've seen.
Wow. It's amazing that you guys brought up some really interesting facts with, just that one question alone. I mean, have you ever felt the need to give into negative peer pressure? Because there's a lot of negative peer pressure that's out there. And we were talking about babies, but there's also the drug abuse and the alcohol abuse. And if so, why did you give in?
I have never given in. I have never put weed or marijuana to my mouth. I've never taken a drink before. So I've never given in. I tell people, like, I'm too good for that. I'm above the influence. I always say I want an above the influence jacket. I see him on TV because I feel like that's my symbol.
That's very good. Karen, could you add to that?
I do have some friends that do, smoke marijuana, and like, they ask me, do you smoke? And I'm like, no. They go, that's good. Like, people tell me, that's good because you don't want to get addicted, that's good because it's bad. And so I'm like, after some people told me, I'm like, yeah, it made me realize, yeah, I really don't want to get into that. Because people that do smoke tell me not to smoke. So
Wow.
at the same time, I'm like, why do you do it then? But
Exactly.
I'd rather just stay out.
Okay. Naya, can you add to that?
Yeah. I haven't been peer pressured to doing drugs because they know me as a person. Like, I'm not the type to do things like that. But like Karen was saying, they say it's not good for you. They say they do it because they're releasing themselves. Like, they're stressed out. They just want to relieve themselves and things like that. You don't have to smoke marijuana to do all that.
Well, I'm going to add on to what she said.
Okay.
People think they relieve themselves from stress by drinking or smoking, but it really makes it worse.
Right.
But also, a lot of people, like me, seeing people drinking and smoking, seeing the way they act after it, I don't want that. I mean, they're tripping, falling all over me, saying stuff they probably regret saying.
Wow.
Yes, acting the way, they probably don't remember half the things they do.
Right. Right. And, what most people don't realize is even afterwards, you still have the same problems that you were dealing with prior to release that anger or the issue that you were dealing with. I would say that there seems to be, a lot of problems with kids that are into alcohol, and I think it's a really bad situation for a lot of our youth to be involved with alcohol. But I've talked to some of the youth in the community, and they said that they get this drug of choice from their parents. Trey, can you add?
Well, parents are like role models in our society today. So just like my mom say, my brother and sisters see what I'm doing, they gonna want to follow. I see what my parents doing, I'm gonna want to do it too. But that's what a lot of kids do these days. They follow after their parents and what they've done. But there should be some positive parents, that should step up and be like, I'm not doing this, so follow me or whatever. So I think the parents are.
But for you to choose not to do drugs or smoke, who influenced you?
My grandfather.
In what way did he influence you?
He put this in my head. You too good for that, Trey. You can make it. And he always pushes me. My uncle, my mom, a lot of people that believes in me as a person and know that I can do better than my generation is.
Okay. And Karen, may I ask, who influenced you to do the right thing as far as the drug of choice that you could be doing or using, and why?
Mostly like my family, my parents, especially my cousin who's been there, she's been like my big sister, and she's always told me, no, that's bad. Like, she's giving me like examples. And I've seen some of my family members or some of my friends like do it, and I'm just like, some of them have ended up really bad, and so I don't want to be like that. And they give me examples. They're like, you see this person? You know why they're like that? It's because they did this. And I don't want to be like that, so that's why.
You bring up a very interesting point, and sometimes it takes for you to see someone that you truly love or you truly care about doing the wrong thing in order for you to do the right thing. And my question is, Lanaya, to you, how did that influence you in your life? Was there someone in your life that maybe did the wrong thing or made the wrong decision and that helped you to make the right one?
Yes, it was someone very close to me, and it was a family member of mine.
Okay. And as far as you choosing to do the right thing, why?
Because I see how they was acting. Like, they were acting really strange. Like he was saying, falling everywhere and all the other stuff. And it was just crazy. And I was like, how can you just let yourself go that far with yourself? Like, it's crazy.
Okay. And if you could be an influence to persuade someone else to do the right thing, what would you say to someone that may have been in your situation or maybe going through somewhat similar situation that you've gone through?
I would tell them just keep your head up, that it will get better. It will get better, because it has got better for me. And don't let what you see influence you to do the wrong thing, because that's not, how would I say that? That's not in style, because people think it's in style. That's not cute.
And Miguel, to add a little bit more to what Naya was saying, in what way do you think you can influence someone else to do the right thing?
Just the way you act, things you do. I've always been a type to try to influence my friends to do things. I have a younger friend who looks up to me, and I always told myself, better me than some thug who does drugs or, you know, goes out and does stuff that he doesn't, that's not right. But also, I tried to be an influence on one of my older friends who was hooked on drugs.
Okay.
He was hooked to pills, to weed, to smoking, to drinking, to everything.
Wow.
Cigarettes and all. And he would always tell me that him and his uncle did it. And one day he was bragging about it at school, and I singled him out. I brought him, like, talked to him privately. I'm like, I'm telling you this as a friend, that all these drugs, these cigarettes, and these drinks can lead you to your death. I'm like, it's bad for your health. The next day, he came to me crying and crying. I'm like, what happened? And he's like, my uncle had an overdose on pills.
Gosh.
He died in his sleep.
Wow.
And he's like, I should have listened to you and this and that. And I felt really bad, but in a way I felt like God heard what I was saying and
Right.
showed him, you know.
Right.
And since then, he quit.
Wow. But it took for him to have to lose someone that was very special to him in order to do the right thing.
And that was kind of going to his topic, where you have an uncle or relative that you look up to who does stuff. He would do drugs with his uncle. I mean,
Wow, that is amazing. Boy, that's heavy. Phew. That is, you know, and it's sad to see a lot of our youth in that type of condition. There are a lot of youth that are out there, you know, and they don't have anyone to talk to. They don't have anyone to listen, you know, to their problems or a situation that they may be going through. If you could reach out to some of our youth that's out there and just tell them something or give them some type of advice that could lift them up, what would that be?
It would just be, it would just be like, why would you want to do drugs? Why would you want to do this? What's it do for you? What does it do for you? Why would you want to get pregnant? What does that do for you financially? Like emotionally, mentally, things like that. And like, especially if you have kids, like I had a family member, you know, she had kids and then she was involved in drugs and she would leave her kids wherever to go smoke. And I asked my dad, I was like, why does she do that? He was like, well, she's in drugs, you know.
Right.
Now, to me, I just don't understand. Like, okay, you had kids and then you're still in drugs, and why would you, like, you have to have something to look up to.
Exactly. Trey, can you add more so to what Karen was saying?
I would tell them to keep the faith. You know, you're too good for that. You know, everybody think it's cool, but really it's not. The cool person is the one who stands up to say, you know, I'm too good for this. I'm the person that's not doing it, you know. And a lot of people are like that, but there are still the harmful people people who try to pressure you and to do it still, you know. That's not good.
Lanaya, what can you add to that? As far as how would you be an influence in someone else's life to tell them to stay uplifted?
If I can do it, I know they can do it, because my situation was really tough. I almost lost a family member for that, maybe more than once. And I'm glad that I still have that family with me, because I don't know what I would do without them. And that has influenced me not to do nothing like that, because I may not have a second chance.
Very powerful.
So I just hope I know they can do it.
Wow. And, you know, I'm glad that you did say that, because I, too, have been in that situation, and I've overcome going through some of the same type of battles that you guys are facing here today and what you're going through. To be able to reach out to another young lady that, you know, may be facing teen pregnancy right now, or a drug addiction problem right now. How could you guys be an influence in their life, and as far as just turning them around? What could you say to that young lady, Trey?
The young lady who has a child? Or
who is pregnant and has a drug addiction problem?
I would say, you know, look at your child, you know, is this what you want him or her to grow up in this type of environment? You know, see you doing the stuff that he had that you do, and him having to go through this, him having a crack fiend for a mom or having an alcoholic for a parent, you know, and that's not right. No child should have to go through that.
There's a lot of babies that are having babies, but when you see a baby in that type of situation, do you try and help that child? Would you try and be a mentor for that child? How do you guys feel about that? Like, what are your views?
Like, I don't, a lot of people pick on people like that, and I feel that's not right. Instead of picking on that person, help them out, lift them up. Don't drag them down even more than they already are. That's what I do.
And for a child that's underage that doesn't have anyone caring, I mean, how would you view it as far as being able to lift that baby up, as far as being a mentor for that child or reaching out? Do you go to someone else and talk to them about the situation to get that child out of a situation that they're in?
I think it would be just trying to help them, just not helping them like don't do this, but being there for them. Talking, like if they want to talk about their problems, just be like, yeah, I understand, yeah, this, yeah, that, and try to help them. Like if you don't want to be in your home, you could come with me. Like I have leaders, you know, they're like, if you're having problems in your home, you could come with me, you know, we could go take a ride, go somewhere out to eat, go do something and get your mind off it and things like that.
Okay. And Lanaya, what would you do for a young child underage that was in that type of situation?
Somewhere similar to what Karen would say. Like I would want to sit there and like have them talk about it, because if they don't talk about it, they keep it inside, that's still going to be hurting them, and they're gonna get any better with it still inside of them. So I would talk to them, make sure they're okay, make sure they do what they have to do. Don't let them go down the wrong path or anything. Just stick with them. Something that they haven't had.
How would you approach them again?
He was saying that there's people who get made fun of because they're addicted to drugs or they're pregnant at a young age or something. Well, what I would do is, first of all, if I saw somebody who's getting made fun of, I'd want to be that person's friend. I would walk up to them and show them that there is somebody that can care and somebody who can, like, you know, listen to them, hear them out, and not make fun of them, just talk to them because you just feel like talking to them as a friend. And I'd tell them that they're better than what they are doing, you know. I'd show them that what drugs can really do to them, you know.
Okay. And you know, there's so much that we can really get into discussion about. Discussion has been great today. If you could reach out and voice your opinion right now, just tell someone what it is that they could do to better themselves, and just, you know, give a word of advice. What would that word of advice be?
Know that no one else has control of your life but you and God. Don't let something like peer pressure take over you. Drugs, having a baby, mamas and dads, everybody, drug abuse. Don't let that affect you. Keep your head up.
Miguel?
Mine would be, my favorite quote is, be a leader, not a follower. And if you really think about it, if you're a leader, you won't fall into drug or peer pressure because you're doing what you're telling yourself to do. You're not falling into what other people are telling you to do.
Right.
It's your personal thought, not theirs.
Great.
I would say keep the faith and stay above the influence, because there's no good, no matter how you see it, in drugs, you know. Being cool, nah, it's not worth it if I have to do drugs. So.
Great. Karen?
Don't be pressured into things that you know is wrong, even though they tell you it's right. Do what you believe and do everything that you think is right. Don't fall into pressure like, is it really worth it? You always got to put that question there.
Absolutely. Great show, guys. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I would like to again thank all of my guests for their insightful opinions and METV for hosting this forum. Thank you for watching, and I hope you will join us again. Every day, we are faced with pressures. Sometimes it's hard to resist whenever everyone else seems to be on board. However, what you must remember is that you have the right to say no and the power to persuade someone else to do the right thing. Thank you.